As much as I love the 90s, it was definitely the decade where most thrash metal discographies went to die.
Yikes!
That said, there were still some serious gems before everything went to hell. So these are my top 15 thrash metal albums of the 90s, and we're starting with Razor and Shotgun Justice in 1990. Coming in hot with Miami, no pun intended, with this album feeling like it's bringing a bit more heat from the crossover side of the fence as opposed to the more speed metal influenced stylings of their previous work. Part of the shift may be due to this being the first album with Bob Reed on vocals replacing Stace Sheepdog McLaren. I like them both, but there's definitely something to be said about the unbridled aggression and intensity that Bob brings to the table.
The bastards came in numbers to infiltrate the place.
And as usual, fitting to the recycled Terminator imagery, Dave Carlo is just a machine on these earworm guitar parts in terms of both speed and precision. Wall-to-wall ragers here, united in hatred, violence condoned, meaning of pain, brass knuckles, concussion. Honestly, one of my favorites start to finish on this entire list. Next up is Demolition Hammer with Tortured Existence, also in 1990. This album has been recommended over and over again whenever I talk about thrash metal on the channel, and now we're finally talking about it.
And there was much rejoicing.
This New York band is a killer fusion of thrash metal with clear influences from death metal on some of the riffing. Some really fun grooves and drumming on Gelid Remains, Infectious Hospital Waste is a straight headbanger. Hydrophobia brings the punky bass and rollicking D-beats for more crossover vibes before taking a little surprise detour into death territory, while Parasital Epitaph has a bit more Slayer energy. Great stuff, especially for those looking for something on the heavier side of the spectrum. Then we have Creator with Coma of Souls in 1990. Before turning into arguably one of the wildest and most unpredictable discographies in thrash metal, check out my full rundown here, Creator dropped one of their best albums to date in Coma of Souls. When the Sun Burns Red continues the trend of great openers and then another awesome title track as well. Hidden Dictator brings that infectious bass guitar, Mental Slavery is great, love that opening riff on Twisted Urges. Lots of great dark atmosphere all over this album, while also hearing them further harness and mature their more dynamic side on songs like Terror Zone and Agents of Brutality. They even get a bit more progressive at times. Really, there's not a single song on this album not worth mentioning. Then we have Sadist with Swallowed in Black in 1990. Another super heavy one with Darren and Rob tearing it up on guitars and Steve DiGiorgio just abusing that bass guitar. Check out the opening of Images just for a taste. Very chaotic sounding stuff right down to the vocals, but there's always a sense of method to the madness. You've got just blizzards of razor blades like Last Abide, but then also moments of menacing, foreboding melody, as with The Wake. Love the drumming and wild pace changes on Good Riddance. Solid dynamics, elite performances. My only real nitpick is that the production feels a bit muddy, but otherwise total rager.
Righteous.
Then we have Artillery with By Inheritance in 1990. As a latecomer to this band and someone who wasn't particularly impressed by their first albums, this one totally took me by surprise when I first heard it. Kicking off on a pretty epic and triumphant note with Seven from Tashkent, leading into Co-Maniac with the big atmosphere and harmonized leads, and then that rumbling bass kicks in and everything just gets really wild. The riffing here is off the charts with thrash that runs the gamut from technical to progressive to neoclassical on tracks like Beneath the Clay and By Inheritance. It's mine, by inheritance, no one can take it away. The only track I'm not really into is Don't Believe, but if you ask me, this is easily the band's crowning achievement and an absolute must listen. This was also their last album before their initial disbandment, so they really went out with a bang. As we continue along here, be sure to share your own favorite thrash metal albums of the 90s in the comments and like the video if you're enjoying it. But next up we have Megadeth with Rust in Peace in 1990.
Brother will kill brother, spilling blood across the land.
One of only 2 releases you'll see from the big 4 on this list, but there's no way this couldn't be included. It's almost cliche to say that this is one of, if not the best album in Dave's catalog, but that status holds firm year after year for a reason. It was even nominated for a damn Grammy.
Wow, an award statue! Oh, it's a Grammy.
Hey, don't throw your garbage down here.
Rust in Peace is all of their impressive musicianship and progressive songwriting now contained within even more memorable songs. So many classics to pick from: Holy Wars, Hangar 18, Take No Prisoners, but then the deeper cuts are just as strong. I love the bass again on Poison Was the Cure. Definitely my go-to in their discography whenever I'm in the mood. Then there's Overkill with Horoscope in 1991. Bit of a hybrid pick here with this album also doubling as one of my favorite foundational groove metal albums, but there's still more than enough thrash here to go around. Infectious and Blood Money are total bangers, Thanks for Nothing has great groove and more awesome bass work, and the slower, even bluesier title track has some clear Cowboys from Hell vibe to it, both albums having been produced by Terry Date. Billboard 29 and Overkill's best-selling album of the Nielsen SoundScan era. Well deserved, I say.
This is Democracy Manifest.
Then we have Coroner with Mental Vortex in 1991. Coroner finished out the 80s with some of their best work in No More Color, but I'm happy to say that those strides forward only continued with Mental Vortex. Right from the top, Divine Step only sees those progressive guitars getting proggier alongside the shifting time signatures of Marky Edelman. Same goes for the head bob-inducing Son of Lilith, which only gets more wild and even a bit psychedelic halfway through its nearly 7-minute runtime. Definitely leaning a bit more into groove metal again on this one, especially chuggier tracks like Pale Sister, but once more, so does Horoscope, so whatever.
Hey, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Then we have Sepultura with Arise in 1991. Not my favorite Sepultura album, but as far as the 90s thrash metal albums go, it's not one you can just gloss over either. The opener has a great hook and fulfills the old promise of speed, and alternatively, Desperate Cry has one of their better slower sections with that really infectious groove amidst the skank beats. Some of the vocals also have a bit of a Godflesh vibe. Under Siege also bringing some mild industrial vibes, and then there are others like Subtraction that still have that more militaristic Metallica sound. Nice bass solo on that one too. Meaningless Movements also bringing some solid hooks, and the intro to Altered State with the tribal drumming feels like a teaser of the more regional influences to come on Roots.
Artie, don't talk about that.
Then we have Devastation with Idolatry in 1991. Man, am I glad that a commenter convinced me to check out this album a while ago. The love for discovering new music here has always been a two-way street. Love that stanky riff that pops up at the end of Deliver the Suffering, which ultimately sold me on including this album. Free Will is a strong follow-up, more great technical hooks and killer interplay between the drums and guitar. Love the attitude in the riffs on Legacy of Faith, and just overall engaging songwriting, as with the awesome sudden pace changes on Subconscious. In a weird way, this album gives me some Death vibes, actually, which may be part in due to the vocals. Next up is Protector with A Shedding of Skin in 1991. Another album that was recommended to me in the comments, and as someone who is really more of a death metal fan than thrash metal fan overall, this needed to enter my musical lexicon. Imagine a thrash version of Cannibal Corpse, and that's basically this album. Another total ripper for this very strong list, just a chugging meat grinder of a record with plenty of killer groove on tracks like Thy Will Be Done and Whom Gods Destroy. Again, if you also enjoy when thrash metal gets particularly grimy and extreme, this one's for you.
Gnarly.
Then there's Sarcophago with The Laws of Scourge in 1991. Our second dose of Brazilian thrash metal on this list. Look, Arise is a classic, but there's something about the more raw and bestial sound of their early albums that just worked for me, and The Laws of Scourge absolutely brings that energy. I suppose it doesn't hurt that they're fronted by Sepultura's original vocalist Wagner Lamounière, who in addition to the usual snarls and barks, also delivers some truly unhinged and animalistic sounds on the likes of piercings and some falsetto screams as with screeches from the silence. You've got some real scorchers like the Black Vomit and Crush, Kill, Destroy, but they can also get a bit more ambitious as well with the 6+ minute Midnight Queen and Secrets of a Widow, whose unholy atmosphere demonstrates why they were a major influence on the second wave black metal explosion.
Sarcophago, first album, Inri. Get it if you can, get it while you can.
Then there's Sodom with Tapping the Vein in 1992. I had actually not heard this album prior to researching this list, and goddamn did it knock my socks off. Whenever people talk about this band, it's always Agent Orange, yada yada yada, and while that album is legendary for a reason, I'll go on record and say that this often rivals it in quality. After Better Off Dead, these guys came back arguably faster and heavier than ever before, even landing in a spot on Germany's Top 100 at number 56. Total ripper from the Angel Ripper, Andy shredding the fuck out of his guitar, and Rip to the King Chris Witchhunter on drums. It's missing a little bit of the rawness of the earlier stuff at times, but I'm constantly banging my head and they can still get downright ugly on the likes of the Crippler and Tapping the Vein, contrasted with the almost Venom vibes of others like Vakterm. Now, before I give my last pick, I let you all choose an album for this list on the community tab, and while there were many great recommendations, including everything from Heathen and Testament to Suicidal Tendencies, I had to go with Mekong Delta with Kaleidoscope in 1992. Now there's a name you don't hear brought up too often, and it's these woefully under-respected talents that I live to shine a light on. Initially formed by members of Rage, this German band kept their identity secret for years while releasing some seriously impressive, progressive, experimental thrash. As someone who really likes when bands take a unique twist on a sound, I'd put this right up there alongside Voivod's best works. Probably the weirdest listen on this list, and please check it out if you haven't already. And then of course we have Slayer with Seasons in the Abyss in 1990. This album feels like the perfect balance between Rain and Blood and South of Heaven. You've got the slower, more plodding songs of the latter, but then also the balls-to-the-wall ragers of the former. Rick Rubin once again producing and perfectly capturing their dark and hellish sound. War Ensemble is a great opener, and for my money, one of the best Slayer songs of all time. Definitely in the top 5 for me. Then there's also the incredible Blood Red, Expendable Youth, and Dead Skin Mask. Honestly, depending on the day, this is frequently my favorite Slayer album overall. Y'all check out this playlist for plenty more thrash metal videos, and let me know down in the comments again, what are your favorite thrash metal albums of the 90s? But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.